Hello and welcome to episode 2 of the Amo Hour. Thanks to everybody who checked out the first episode, and thanks for tuning in again. To all the new listeners, episode 1 is obviously out there, so you can jump back and check out the interview with Jack Bennett from Lonely the Brave, if you so wish. Today's guest is a really inspirational guy. I've known him, I would say, about 15 years, just basically kind of through other people, through the scenes that we mixed in, but never really had a proper conversation with him, just both through the band scene, being young teenage guys playing kind of the Glasgow venues. He's been through a lot in his life, and he's come through it stronger, and he shares that and helps other people improve, which I think is just such a gift he gives to people. Very, very humble about his own successes, and pretty hard on himself, I believe, through maybe past transgressions, if you like. And his conversation really just struck a chord with me, because speaking to a lot of friends, I think this is something most of us do, but I've always really struggled with feelings of maybe kind of self-loathing, or not giving myself enough slack for things that you've done wrong. And then when you look in isolation, or you look back to how long ago these things are, it was a completely different life. You were a completely different person. And I think one of the kind of consistent themes in this conversation was, you would support and encourage your friends or family, if they had kind of overcome difficulties in the past. But we're always so quick to talk to ourselves in a manner that we wouldn't accept somebody speaking to someone else in that way. Whether it's things you're embarrassed of in the past when you were an adolescent, or mistakes you've made, things you've done to hurt people. Personally, issues with anxiety leading to over-exuberance of alcohol, or self-loathing, and then eating too much. They sound like small things, but these are things, you look back on pictures of yourself, and personally I have periods in my life where, I'm just embarrassed by the state I let myself get in. More than embarrassed, but looking back now, the way I'd acted then, the way I kind of lived my balanced my life up and stuff, now I'm a completely different person, and this isn't to say I'm the final version or the perfect version of who I want to be. Absolutely not. But it's weird that I would still torture myself for these things I'm embarrassed of, or I'm not proud of, yet don't see how far I've come, and that's not just happened. That's been something I've had to work on, and something I work on every day. And when I get these thoughts and feel really low and don't want to leave my bed sometimes, that I'm sure, everyone can relate to. These are the things that really we should be picking ourselves up with and going, maybe I was pretty lazy this week. Maybe I ate something that made me feel shit. Maybe I drank a little bit too much, but look at how it used to be. And then just think, how far I can, go in the future to improve, even what I'm on now. So again, it's not self-appreciating or, slap yourself on the back. It's just to say, I think we all need to take stock of, how far we've come, and any small kind of victory in our life, any improvement should be celebrated, and should be quite rightly appreciated by yourself. So yeah, quick wee ramble there, but it's something I always think about internally, and it feels really heavy in my stomach. And I think speaking with Scott today, Scott Craig, aka Coach DC, it's something he struggles with. And I think if one thing good comes out of this podcast, something I've taken from other podcasts, maybe these are conversations you've not been able to have with somebody else, and hearing other people talk about them can kind of trigger that and go, shit, yeah, that's how I've been feeling. So yeah, super thankful he came on here. He's inspired me from afar for a while, and speaking to him again inspired me to be able to kind of recognise that in myself. So something I'll try and work on. Right, on to some quick business. As we said last week, and as we'll say every week, we're giving 20% off to listeners or viewers of the Amo Hour at the merch store. So that's www.theamocollective.bigcartel.com, and in checkout, if you just enter the Amo Hour, you'll get 20% off there. We also want to make this interactive. I want to hear from you if you've enjoyed the podcast, if you want to say hello, if you want to tell a funny story, if you want to tell me, and the listeners, how you're dealing with this lockdown or life in general. I'd love to hear from you. I'd love to stick you on the podcast. So you can record a voice note over at our kind of podcast homepage. The link to that is on our Instagram page at the Amo Hour, or you can email me, and that's theamohour@gmail.com. Send over your voice memo. You can also send feedback there if you'd like to reach out, if you'd like to suggest guests, or if you'd like to jump on yourself. Just email me there. I'm open to anything. Also, please, whatever platform you're listening or watching on, subscribe, like, share. The more subscriptions and likes we get on videos and podcasts, the higher up in the search will show up, and that means that obviously more people are going to listen. The long and short of that means the more listeners we get, the kind of more guests I can bring on, because obviously I'm showing that there's a platform there. And finally, it's easier just to tell you that all the links and everywhere you can listen to it is on the Instagram page. So just hit over there at the Amo Hour, and the link tree's there with everywhere you can check the podcast out. So thanks so much for being with us on this journey. This is just episode 2. This is an amazing conversation, and I really urge everybody to kind of check this out for the full episode and let me know what you think. So put your feet up, kick back, relax. This is episode 2 of the Amo Hour.
So have you been doing this a while?
Nah, man, literally just started it. A fan of obviously podcasts, and someone hit the nail on the head on one of the conversations we were having, like the long form conversations. I think the more time we're spending, I'm lucky I have a wife and she lives here, but obviously she's working full time as well, and you sometimes miss that communication with your mates. So I think long form conversation, when you're spending quite a lot of time on our own just now, is nice to listen into. It's like you're just
for sure
in a room chatting with people, eh?
Yeah,
I just thought, put my money where my mouth is. Like, I'm not trying to take over the world or trying to make money or anything. I don't have any huge goals with it. I just think I know a lot of interesting people, and even people I don't know super well, like yourself, and by association, and hope to know someday people with just cool backgrounds and stories and that. So just thought I would kind of start it. You've always got to start something, don't you?
Well, that's it, mate. And especially now, it's like anything that we can do to like take up some time, but it's actually enjoyable or interesting. Just anything to keep us fucking going, basically. Instead of like sitting on Mars playing Warzone for like hours on end. I mean, as fun as it is, I don't want to do it all the time. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, man, I can't get into it. I'm just so shit. Like the old Call of Duties, like when you could just spawn, throw a grenade, like take out people. But
yeah.
I feel like on that new one, like I played it twice. You just walk out, shot, dead. Like
it's pretty hard, man. Like me and my two best mates have been playing it for literally, since last March, since the lockdown, every single night, because it's like social. It's our way to chat to each other. One of them lives in London, man. So I never see him anyway, and we're still shite at it. So it's
just for the chat, really, isn't it?
Pretty much, man. Pretty much.
Well, I better give you a wee intro, man. Scott Craig here, aka Coach DC. I like sum up your stuff, man. As I said, we'll get into it in a wee second. Like, I've known of you way back in the day when we were both doing the music thing, but I think what you do goes like past the incredible physical results that I see from people. It really just seems to be personal excellence, and whether that's people just getting mental well-being from it or the physical side. Obviously, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but do you see yourself as kind of like a personal, just like an excellence trainer, really just try to get the best out of people?
For sure. Like, I've been a coach for 5-6 years now, man, and I would definitely say when I first got into the industry, because I had went through such a massive transformation and my body for a start, and like my fat loss, it was more so chasing fat loss results and that aesthetic changing people, because again, at the same time, that's what most people wanted as well. That everybody wanted, everybody was going to personal trainer, me anyway, for weight loss, fat loss. There was the odd one like wanting to gain strength or whatever else, but most of my clients were for fat loss, and they were looking for that result. And that's what I kind of specialised in. I studied, nutrition pretty closely, and we got great results with my clients in terms of weight loss. But the last 2 to 3 years specifically has definitely brought more of a shift onto overall just lifestyle benefits, mental health benefits, strength benefits, performance excellence, because as you probably know, I done my Ironman 2 years ago, well, a year and a half ago. And, that's all performance, that's all eating and living to perform well rather than to lose weight. And what I do now in CrossFit training is more about how I'm performing and how most of the clients are performing, rather than chasing that kind of leaner body or whatever. But don't get me wrong, I'll always want to help people change their appearance if they want to, if that's what they're looking for, because it changed my life dramatically. If I never lost the weight, I wouldn't be sitting here talking to you right now. I wouldn't be doing the job I do. It all came from the initial weight loss, because I wasn't happy who I was and how I looked, and putting on clothes and playing the band and stuff like that. I never had confidence, hence why I drank so heavily going on stage, and just in general drank heavily because I hated myself, essentially. So I'll always help people lose weight if that's what they want. I don't think anyone should ever say to someone how they should look or what their goals should be. But if they turn around to me and say, Scott, I really want to lose weight because I'm not happy, then I'm all for helping them do that. And so a lot of my clients at the moment, we train in a group, when we're allowed in the gym, a group environment. And it's all looking at how can we get better in terms of strength and fitness and overall performance. And then I'll have one-to-one clients who want to do more specifically nutrition and weight loss and stuff like that on the side. So a bit of both. But yeah, man, like I've had clients who have came to me for a bit of weight loss, and they have ended up changing their whole lives because they have found a new lease of life through training. They've maybe got a new job because they've found the self-confidence through training. They've maybe got out unhappy relationships because they've realised that it's not what they wanted in life, and their whole life has changed purely because of finding something that they love and something that makes them feel good and empowers them. And that's why, training is not just to lose weight. There's so many other reasons, and because I'm so passionate about what I do, and because I went through the massive change myself, it can get personal with clients in terms of, like, as you say, other aspects of their life. Some sessions will be literally fucking talking about what they're struggling with, and I'm not an expert in counselling or anything like that, but I've been through a lot of shit in my life, and I've came out the other end stronger. And just that alone can really help people through you talking about your own experiences, or just if they're similar experience themselves, like if they're struggling with alcohol, if they're struggling with their diet. I've been in jobs I've hated, that kind of stuff, and you can just end up helping someone just by talking to them, man. And it's just like maybe they've came to the gym for weight loss, but maybe they've just needed someone they don't know as well to get shit off their chest, and it's the mix of that and the training that just like really helps them in all areas. So
I think from the outset, man, like I don't think you even need to be an expert like in psychology to just like listen. I think this massive issue we have in society with poor kind of mental health, and I think everybody suffers from it. I don't think it's like, oh yeah, this person has depression. Everybody does. Like, well, I will get into like later on, like, things that have been catalysts for change, because I share some things with you. Certainly not changed anything physically like yourself. But yeah, I think sometimes just having somebody to talk to and listen to you when you do talk is massive, isn't it? And then say,
oh yeah,
right, that was class, let's do some burpees, and then like snap them back into the hard work. And
yeah, man. Like
also,
somebody's maybe come into the gym in a total shittery mood for whatever reason, whether it be work or personal circumstances, and then Yeah, they get literally they come in. I go, how are you? And they go, oh, fucking shite. And I'm like, oh, what's up? You know, what is wrong? Are you okay? Tell me how you are. And they spend 10, 15 minutes getting that off their chest and telling you how they feel, and they just feel better for telling you. And then they've got it off their chest, they feel better, and then you hit a workout and they feel even better, and they leave the gym like feeling so high when they came in feeling really low. And that's the magic of training, and that's where people really can find a benefit from a personal trainer, because it's not just about getting told what to do or spending loads of money or getting told what to eat. It's about accountability to A, turn up to the gym, and B, having someone to talk to you, to guide you through things. And as I say, it might not be intentional, and we're not experts in that kind of counselling area, but as you say, just listening to someone to get off their chest can be a big difference. And if they just went to the gym themselves, busy gym, can't get on the machine they want, and an even worse mood, and then they leave. I can still feeling crap, you know. So I think having a coach is a massive thing for people.
Have you ever heard of or listened to a book or his podcast, a guy called Chris Ryan, and a book called Civilized to Death?
No, I haven't. I never heard of him.
I'm shit at like books, but audio books I like really love.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, going wonders and stuff, man. I'd recommend that because it just falls into exactly what you're saying. Essentially, without like making this a fucking book club podcast, is just going into that we're essentially in like an artificial zoo for humans now. But he's like, there's two different, we're not going to be able to reverse time, obviously. He's like, so there's two different types of zoos. You can go to these safari parks where animals can run free and stuff. And yes, it's manufactured because we've moved on in modern days and they're endangered. But then you go to the ones where they're in like a tiger in this cage and it's quite clearly stressed and that. And he equates that to like modern civilized living with people in offices and like in there, you know, we don't speak to our neighbors anymore and we're all really isolated off way before the pandemic. And just goes like on those natural endorphins that it's like proven that workouts, like literally, like there's a reason that we love the sunrise. It's not because we like the color pink. It's because that was like safe. We made it through another morning. And when we exercise, it's because like that's what our body's designed to do, to like feel good about like hunting and running and doing all that shit, you know. So
yeah, for sure.
I think like, the science to back it all up, man.
Yeah, honestly, it never ever fails to make you feel better. And that's me talking from 8 years now of experience, from me doing it pretty much every day or 5-6 days a week for 8 years. For hundreds of the clients that I've trained, they always leave in a better place. And there'll be the odd time that you have a crap session and things don't go your way. I've had a couple of them this week. I've had a rough week, struggle, you know, mental health week, just lockdown, etc. And the training hasn't been great, but have I felt a bit better than I did before I started? 100%, you know, every time. And usually I feel 100 times better. And it's like, as you say, I think everyone has some mental health issues, and I definitely do. And probably realised that even more through lockdown, with all the time to think and being by my own. But the best medicine for me and to cure that is exercise and it's training, man. And it can literally be going out to walk for an hour.
100%, man.
You know, it doesn't even have to be going to the gym and going nuts or going a run and exerting myself really, really hard. It can literally be a walk with a podcast or music, and I come home feeling so much better than before, man. And whereas before I used to use alcohol as that thing to make me feel better, which then obviously led to worse mental health, and took me a long time to realise that wasn't the answer. But I have found the answer for my kind of issues, or for when I don't feel very good. It's always to do something, even if I don't feel like it in the moment. Like if I can't be arsed, or if I'm tired, or if it's really cold or whatever, I will always force myself to do something, because I know that it will make me feel better, man.
You're spot on, man. Like I know you kind of follow the football team I'm around, but even before, I've never been a big gym guy, but I've always loved kind of like group training, whether that's HIIT classes, whether it's a sport, or literally just asking your mate to go for a wee jog and stuff. Obviously, COVID's taken away kind of that element of my life, and usually at Christmas, I'll let myself slack off a wee bit. But this Christmas, cause of lockdown, probably, I realised. So I do still drink, and I was going to come to this later, but we're at a natural place. So I had been drinking, and I'm not talking anything like heavy. Like I've been in periods of my life where I do drink heavy, but it's the casual ones, like just 3 bottles of beer a night, and then don't train the next day. And I realised since Christmas till like on Sunday there, I'd done that every night, and I was like, fuck this. So I got out and done some, like, with my mate, hill sprints and runs about and stuff on Monday and Wednesday, and already today, just cutting all that out. It's night and day. So I wonder, do you have insight? Did you, before you gave up booze and stuff like that, I guess what I'm trying to get at is, isn't it weird that we know that, yet can creep so easily back into the habits? And like I'm saying, not like I wouldn't call myself an alcoholic, but I certainly find it hard to say, like, I'll do all this a week and then I'll be like, it's Saturday, I'll have a beer. But we know it won't make us feel better. So do you have any insight or ideas to why that is as humans?
It's crazy, man. Like, we all know that alcohol isn't good for us. We all know that it worsens our mental health, but it's the same with food. We all know that excessive junk food intake is not good for our physical or mental health. However, so many people struggle with the control aspect or overdo it all the time. We're at a point where it is affecting their physical mental health. People die from that. Mm-hmm. People die from alcoholism, but yet, and they know that it's a possibility, but they keep doing it because it's it can be obviously an addiction. And I would say, yeah, I mean, when I tried not to drink when I was younger, for various reasons, I didn't want to, and then I did, and from that moment, I was like addicted to booze and hooked on getting drunk and the feeling of it, and just being young and the madness, and but from right away I knew it was fucking bad for me. It was right away it was impacting my life in a negative way from as soon as I started drinking at 16 years old, 17, 18, I had a problem by that point. And I knew that it was fucking wrecking me, but I kept doing it because I craved it, because the short-term feeling of that first few drinks was just, the best thing ever.
Nailed it.
But I knew the back of my head that I would never stop at 3, 4, 5 drinks,
yeah.
And I knew that the drinking to blackout was only going to lead to major problems, but I still done it all the time. I didn't want to feel like that. I didn't want to ruin my life, but I kept fucking doing it. So yeah, it's weird because I knew all along that I could feel better if I stopped it, but it was the only thing at that time that was making me feel good was getting pissed after work or getting pissed when something went wrong. So my answer was always just to drink and bury my head in the sand, and that just led me to so many problems in my life. And then when I finally stopped and I needed something to, I stopped, and then 2 months later my dad dropped dead in the golf course. So it was a very fragile moment in my life there, because if I'd turned back to the drink, fuck knows where I'd be now. But I needed something there to do when I felt like things were too much, when I had a bad day, when I couldn't stop thinking about my dad, when I needed a drink, I needed something, and it was exercise. I went to the gym. Christ, I would go out because I didn't want to stop going out completely when I stopped drinking. I was only 25 years old, man. So it's like, mm-hmm. All my friends, that's all they done. So I didn't want to just sit in the house on my own all the time, especially after going through what I was going through with the loss. I had to be around my friends. So what I would do is I joined a 24-hour gym on Jamaica Street in town, and I would go to the pub in the Cat House, and when I felt like it was at that point where I couldn't take it anymore of being out and not drinking, I would go to the gym at 1 a.m. I would go to the gym at midnight, 2 a.m.
That's mad, man. That's class, eh?
And train, because I knew that it was a buzz, going into the gym and smashing myself really was a buzz, and it gave me a feeling of like adrenaline, and it just took away the edge, and it's what saved me from ever going back to boozing, essentially having that. If I never decided to join the gym, I would have probably ended up drinking again at some point, probably, because it's the only thing that got me through the dark days.
That's a really like cool story, man. Like like being out with your pals, and then when you got that urge, rather than, I mean, obviously it'd be a shit story if you succumbed to it, but rather than just like having this, oh no, and I just held firm, you actually just went to the gym. That's class, man.
Yeah, man, I tried to quit for years. I got to a point before I actually quit. I really wanted to stop, but I just couldn't. Like, just kept falling back into it. I'd maybe last a week or 5 days, or whatever, and then I just one day a bad day at work, and I would just break, and then that would be it, on the downward spiral again. But this time I'd stopped, and I lost my dad, and my dad knew about my boozing. He helped me stop drinking, and I worked at the bank in the time, and he worked at the bank, so couldn't hide it. Got to a point couldn't hide it from him anymore. So I had to basically. One day it was a Wednesday. I ended up getting drinking all night and passed out. Woke up at 12 in the afternoon. My dad's kicking my door down because I've been meant to be at work at 9 in the morning, and I've been fucking sleeping, passed out. So before my dad, he's not come in again. He's came round and kicked the door in, found me passed out on Thursday afternoon. So at that point, it's like, this isn't just, oh, I got out of control again. This is like, okay, I have a problem, and I need help. So that's what started the process of me stopping drinking. It still took a while after that, but he was a big part of that, because we were really best pals, man. But at the same time, with my drinking, I like let him down so much, man. Like, just through like things that don't sound that bad, but as a father-son relationship, just, he must have been so fucked off all the time, just not turning up to things, sleeping in, being half pissed, reeking a drink, getting too drunk at family thing, just the usual stuff, man. So when I managed to stop, he was so fucking happy. He was so proud, because he knew it was ruining me. And he was obviously worried, man. Like, at the time when I was drinking, I just thought he was a dick. Like, why are you getting on at me? Why the fuck are you, on the case all the time? But it was just because he wanted to help me and stop me drinking, which at the time I didn't realise, because I was selfish. So when I actually fucking stopped, it was, it was a lot of it was for him, because I wanted to be a better son and rebuild all the mistakes I had made over the previous years. And so I stopped in May, and then my birthday was in July, and we went out for something to eat, and he asked me if I wanted a pint, and I says, I'm definitely off at this time. Well, he didn't ask me if I wanted a pint, he asked me if I was going to drink, and I says, no, I'll have a Diet Coke. I'm not drinking, I'm doing it. I'm going to do it this time.
Yep.
And I just saw the pride in him that day, of me not out for my birthday and I'm not having a pint. That's when we both knew that I was going to get a good bash this time. And that was the last time I saw him, man. So that was that was the weekend of my birthday. So the weekend went out for my birthday, and the weekend after, I spoke to him on the phone on the Friday night. He was going to pick me up to go to the football on the Sunday. And then I got a phone call on Saturday that he had died, man. So, like, that, now I've stopped drinking. Like, I had tried before, I never worked, but now my dad had just died, and if I drink, I'm fucking letting him down again.
Yeah.
So I'm never fucking drinking again. That's what I said to myself. Like, that day I got the phone call, my sister tells me what's happened. I obviously break down, going fucking crazy. She's on the way to pick me up. I grab my keys. I'm like, I'm going to the shop. My mate was with me at the time. I'm going to get booze, man. Fucking cannot handle this. Had a wee think, gave myself a shake, didn't do it. And then that was the moment I said, this is it. This is where my life fucking changes, man, because I am never going to drink again. Because I let him down too much, and now he's not here, and he can now see me all the time. He can see me now. I'm not religious, man, but I told myself that. I was like, he can see me all the time and I ain't doing it. So that was that. My wee sister was 12. She just lost her dad as well. I'm the male figure in the family now. I need to be there for her. I need to be there for the rest of my family. I need to be there for myself. I don't want this to be the start of a massive downfall. I want this to be the start of a new life for me. And I'm never drinking again. And I haven't. And I've never had a drink since that day. And that's what kickstarted it all. So I had that. I think that was going why I got into all that was going back to why it was different to actually stop my behaviours and change. And it was because there was that thing there that I was always in the back of my head. And then the gym. And then I found the gym to give me the buzz and give me the adrenaline and knock out the stress, knock out the bad days. And
that's phenomenal, man. And I mean, I'm sure I lost my dad as well, man, pretty suddenly, and hadn't seen him in ages. We had a different relationship. I didn't live with him, and I just hadn't seen him in ages. But that was a relationship as well. Like, we were like so fucking tight, but my family just isn't. And like, as soon as I could leave home, I left home. There wasn't a bad home.
I was the same, man. Yeah, I was the same. I didn't live with my dad either.
I wasn't like always on the blower to him and that, but when I would be back home, I'd see, obviously I live in Glasgow, I'm from Perth, I would see him in that, and it just had been too long. And then I lived with that regret, because I'm like, that's like, honestly, it's 6 months. That wasn't out of the ordinary, but you live with that, and like, you think, shit, son, and all that. And you're talking about the things that you did that, let him down and disappointed in that. But I just want to say this, in case someone's never told you, that, he was never like, you'd never let him down and stuff, man. You were just a kid, and you'll have a son one day, and he might do things. It might not be drinking, it might be fucking running about getting in fights and that, but it's formative years, innit? But what you did was you took what would make him proud and you fucking maximised it, and we'll go on to that. So I just, sometimes you need to hear it, man. Like, if that ever still like haunts you and stuff, you need to say, well, you've given him the best fucking tribute you could physically.
Man, it's so weird because like I'm so proud of myself. I really am. Like, where I was at that point in my life to where I am now, I'm so proud. But I can't deny it, man. It's really hard to live with the fact that everything I've done has been after he died, and it wasn't when he was here. I wish that I could do a triathlon or something, and he could physically say to me, "Son, that's amazing. I'm very proud." Like, because he would be so fucking shocked, because I was so overweight, unfit, and like steaming. Like, the thought of me doing a triathlon, never mind an Ironman, he would be like, he wouldn't even believe me. And do you know what I mean? So like, and even stupid things like, he came and watched me play football every week when I was a kid. And then I didn't play football for 8 years. And then when I got sober, I started playing football again and played for a team, captained the team. And like, he would have came to those games, even though it was a Sunday league, he would have came and watched me some weeks. And even shit like that. And I'm just like, I just wish like everything's hit that twinge of sadness, even no matter how good it is, it's too late. But yeah, man, it's like, it is what it is.
I can relate. Yeah, I can relate so much, man. Like, we bought a house. We'd moved to Glasgow and grafted for like 3 years, so we could, maybe 4 or 5 years, so we could afford a house. Bought a house with a flat. Got married and stuff. He was talking about it to be the party of the century. I'm not saying this to try and like fucking level up with it. I get it.
No, and that's
totally get it. And you're like,
the thing.
These amazing things, and then for a second you're like, but fuck. But I'm the same as you, man. I don't believe in an organized religion, but the more and more I read or listen, and we can share some podcasts after this, because I'm right into the spirituality ones. And Duncan Trussell Family Hour, he has people on that are absolutely amazing, but he does it. He's a comedian as well, so it's pure light. It's not like Bambi. But there's like, people think of religion like Christianity and stuff, and it's very formalized and it's quite new. There's been stuff going on for like thousands of years, man, about like spirituality and all your stuff with like Buddhism and all these chakras and that. Like, who fucking knows? But this has come from somewhere, and I don't know about you. Me and my dad were really close, and obviously it can never be that way. But I feel him all the time. Like, I'll speak to him when I'm alone in my thoughts, whether it's out loud sometimes or whether it's just a wee nod up here. And I do believe he's looking down, and I don't believe it's just like it was only my father. I don't know your beliefs. It was only my father, and now he looks down, and that, like, call it what you want, reincarnation, whatever. Energy can't die. Like, this is just the vehicle. Like, your car is your car, the meat and the bones is the metal and the plastic. But what makes you decide to rescue a cat from Spain when some folk would just walk by? I'm not saying they're bad people, they might do other things. What makes you decide how to be a nice person to someone who really needs it and put yourself out? That can't just be bones and mush. Like, that's a spirit. That's like something. Call it what you want.
Mate, honestly,
I can't just disappear when you die, man.
No, man. Like, when I was doing my Ironman training, man, and like, I'd be out some grueling runs, like 25k or whatever, and I would have moments where I would just feel something and I would just burst into tears, man.
Yep.
Probably had been thinking, like, when I'm out those long runs, I think a lot about my past, which is a good thing because I'm out a run, being a fit, healthy person.
Therapy, innit?
Aye, and like, running always puts those thoughts in my head, but it also brings me back to realising how far I've came and how I've turned shit around. But I'd be out some runs or cycles and like, I just burst into tears, and I just feel my dad was watching me training. And you know, people might look at me and go, "You're a PT, you're an Ironman, you're fit as fuck." I'm fit, but I'm not an athlete. I'm not. Well, I consider myself an athlete, but I'm not a professional athlete. I'm not a competitive Ironman. I just finished that race with the time cap by the skin of my teeth. Like, it was hard, and at some of those training sessions, I feel like that's what got me through. Like, knowing that he could see what I was doing. I've never even really told anyone that, man. You know, whether people might think you sound daft or whatever, but I fully believe that that's what kind of, like, I got through that Ironman race, and there was times I didn't think I was gonna, and beat cut-offs, or thought my bike was gonna fall apart. And you know what, man? I'm just like, I was doing that for him, and like, I felt that he was taking me through that and watching me do that. So yeah, it's mad.
Man, I totally subscribe to it, man. And you know, when I say that, I don't mean like if someone was to ask me, "Oh, explain why." Oh, I'm not saying I have answers, by the way, but I feel it, and whether you want to feel it or not, one thing. So there's two sides to it, as I believe. That energy, whether it goes somewhere else or whether this is like, you know, the ancient philosophies is like, this is almost like a training academy, so that you can physically be testing how does your soul mature, and then when it expires in your body, you know, then it's there to like ascend or whatever. Again, you feel like you shouldn't be saying these words, but I don't give a fuck. I'm comfortable in my thoughts. The other side to it is, even if the physical thing did cease, the memories you make, the legacies you make, the history just says this, for example, like, things have actions, and your dad's and my dad's in different ways, but your dad's actions and love, and your love for him, most importantly, made what you do now, which has helped you achieve things in his honor, has helped you being a better brother, has helped you being somebody who they might not admit to you as full as they really need to, but if someone was asked, you know, like, you've probably changed their lives, brought them through dark times, you've then enabled them to maybe be that person for somebody else. So even if that spirit that we feel is probably there, isn't it? That legacy and that love 100% is. You can't kill a feeling, you can't kill a memory, man, you know?
And you know what, like, being an alcoholic, when I used to drink, it wasn't me, it wasn't who I am, and it wasn't how I was brought up. Since I've stopped drinking, and how I try and conduct myself and live my life and help other people, and that's who I am, and I've found that now, and I've spent so many years being someone that I wasn't because of a horrible thing that took a hold of me, and I feel like the reason that I am so passionate about a job and want to help other people and will sacrifice other stuff to fit an extra client in or work an extra late hour, or currently, as I'm doing, train folk outside in a car park at the moment, is because of, you know, I was brought up well, man. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. You want to help people, man. Yeah.
And also, it's funny you're saying that, because like, I've recently gone into Vikings, man. I don't know if you've seen it, but like, so good. They're not scared of death because they get excited about the thought of going to their heaven.
seeing their ancestors.
Aye, and like living another life. And I'm not saying that's what I believe now or anything, but it's just what you were saying there. It's like I've obviously been watching a lot of that, and that's obviously how, like, those Vikings all that time ago, that's what they believed, and whether that happened or not, who knows? But I guess we'll find out when we die.
Yeah, and on the other hand to that, though, that doesn't mean like they wanted. I know you know this, but for anyone listening in, it doesn't mean they wanted death, but because like their ancestors would be on their shoulder going, "No, yet, enjoy it. You've more to learn, you've more to do, you've more to help. But when you come, we'll meet again." So yeah, man, it's philosophies that every ancient civilization who's been around a lot longer than us, our modern civilization's been around in like the blip of an eye compared to like, Sumerian and the old Indian and Mayan civilizations and that. And, they had a lot more time to think about things. So I wouldn't dismiss it as flippantly as modern society does,
Yeah. And on the flip side to that, before I stopped drinking, I'd kind of resigned myself to like dying young. Like, I just didn't really care. I was like, probably die in my 40s or 50s, like the way I'm living, whatever. Now I'm like, that terrifies me. I want to live till I'm like 130. Like, totally, I want to train, every day when I'm 70, 80 years old and enjoy life as long as I can. And that was just, again, mindset and mental health before booze and after booze. You know what I mean?
Totally, man. And see what you're saying there about like, that wasn't you and stuff. It's hard to know. It's hard to equate how everybody in the world feels. Like, does everyone feel exactly the same, or do I feel about this worse or harder or more? But I still get like, even when I've not been drinking, like the fear just sometimes about like how I've acted and how I've done and how I've done. But there was a quote I heard once. It was like, don't ever talk to yourself how you would if you wouldn't talk to somebody else like that. I wouldn't say to somebody else who made mistakes when he was a hormone-filled, like, anxiety, like a society we're brought up in when it's work, 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 and all this shit. I wouldn't tell a young person who's now matured out of that, you were a fucking dick. You would go, no, mate, you were just figuring things out. Like, you maybe put your fucking foot in it a few times, and that.
Of course, man.
Listen, look at what you do now. You'd go, well done for where you are now. That was like training academy. Yeah. But we do it to ourselves. We torture ourselves.
We do, man. And I would hate to, I torture myself a lot about where I used to be and think about, oh my God, again, more so to do stuff with my dad, but even that, my pals, ex-girlfriends, just letting people down essentially, because that's what I've done. It's been selfish, letting people down, and not even terrible things, man. Just like, I'll be there at 9 o'clock and then no turn up because I'm still in the pub with my pals, stupid stuff like that. Mm-hmm. But I'd hate to think that anyone I met back then would like judge me as a person now because of how I acted under the influence of alcohol when I was in my fucking 20s, because trying to be better now, and that's the most important thing. Do you know what I mean?
If they did, then they've not grown. If they were still stuck there and couldn't see everything you've done and how you help people in that, man, this isn't me kissing your ass. This is like man to man. Like, if they were still stuck in that, man, you just sometimes have to go, you know what? I apologise that it's affected you that much. I've moved on. That's it done.
Yeah, I guess so. And again, that's probably me just overthinking everything, and that's what lockdown has done a lot for me. It's I live on my own. Got the cats now, but I live on my own. I can't work anymore or work properly. I used to be at work from 7:30 in the morning until 9 at night, and now I'm in the house all the time on my own, and overthinking is like hard not to do sometimes, man.
Totally, man.
And it's been so rough at points, but it just is what it is, I suppose, which we keep saying. But
yeah, I think it's easy. I say the exact same thing, man. It's not till you speak to somebody else that you realise that's not a good answer, eh? Like, but it's all we've got. Like, it is what it is. But I think that is the real pandemic, isn't it? It's like, I'm not one of these people that don't think it's real. Of course it's real. But I think there is a much bigger, and we need to look at how we're going to address that issue of only some people get COVID, but so many people, whether it's small degree or huge, are really suffering mentally,
It's hard, man. It's hard. Yeah. Like, I can't, I live on my own. I need to pay all my bills on my own, all my rent, and I can't work. Mm-hmm. I can't make money. It's fucking stressful, man. It's really worrying at points. And luckily, I'm a strong person now, and I don't resort to booze anymore. I don't resort to things like that, and I have good people around me. but there'll be people out there who won't be as strong, man, and will turn to booze or junk food or self-harm or whatever, man, because they can't deal with it. And that's fucking heartbreaking, man. It's so tough. It's so tough.
Do you, this is kind of going in opposite order of what I had planned out, but that's good because it's more natural. But obviously I first kind of met you, but just knew who you were, like same with the other guys in your band and different bands. Was it the garage we were playing, or do you even remember? I think it was one of those like promotion things with like Flood of Red. In your band, My Actions, Your Exit. My band was Friday First.
Would it have been King Tut's, maybe?
Maybe,
No?
aye, maybe.
I mean, we played every venue under the sun with Flood of Red, to be honest, but
totally.
It
So
could have been anything, man.
So like back then, that's when I was kind of first aware of you guys, and it was absolute class pop punk. Like I know you're a big Starting Line fan, so am I. That's not the music I play anymore, but I absolutely love it. It's not because I don't like it. I just write differently to what my tastes were then. But did you think that at that age, did you think that might have been like your future thing? Were you that passionate about it, or was it all just a hobby?
Music?
Yeah.
Oh, mate, like, fuck. All I wanted to do was be in a band. From the moment I heard Enema of the State, Blink-182, when I was 13 or something, and I bought a guitar. That's all I wanted to do, man. And some of the best times of my life, playing in the band and writing songs with the guys, going into the studio and recording it, just going into the studio every week and jamming. That was the thing that held me together when I was young and drinking and bad, really bad places. It was I had the band and I had music, and I just loved it, man. And I still go to gigs now, but gigs back in the day was my life, man. I'd go to every gig I could. I just loved it so much. And I left school. I was never great at school, but I left school in 5th year because I was like, what's the point of me being here? I want to be in a band. I want to be a musician. I'm just going to leave and focus on that. And I left school and I was pushing trolleys in Morrison's at the time just to make some money. Still lived at home, but just to make some money to pay for the studio, to pay for new guitars, to pay to record and stuff like that. And like from the age of 15, 16 to 21 was like I tried my hardest to do whatever we could to try and go further than we were at that point. And I mean, we had some really big highs, really good moments, and moments where we thought this could be it. Like we supported You Meet Six at King Tut's, and it was like sold out as they were just getting big, and the place was sold out, man. And it was like walking onto stage to like hundreds of screaming people, and they're queuing up to get photos with you. Your MySpace then blows up, and everybody's listening, and you're thinking, shit, can we maybe go? Is this where we get that next step? And then we got signed to a label down south, but then they paid for like an EP and tours and stuff, but it just never happened in terms of like getting the right exposure. We probably just weren't good enough, to be honest, but I always hoped and dreamed, and unfortunately it never happened. And the band, we played a gig at Sleazy's one night, man, and there was about 7 people there, and it just goes at that point where like, this is costing us money to come here with taxis and the gear because we can't drive, and that's when we kind of chucked it. And then that's when my drinking then got worse because I didn't have the band. But then I stopped drinking, started another band, played in that for a few years, played some great shows there. That then ended, and I haven't done much, but then I played in the pop punk karaoke band, which is like so much fun, man. And funnily enough, the last few weeks I've started writing music again.
Nice.
I've started writing some songs, and I'm going to start learning how to properly use GarageBand and do some demos, and just for right now to keep me going, keep my focus, and it just makes me happy. And I'm glad I'm doing it again. But yeah, mate, like being in a band was all I wanted. It was just like I just wanted to be a touring successful band.
And it's easy for like guys who haven't made it to say this, and I always want to like throw caution. I don't believe that the bands who have made it it's just luck. Of course, loads of bands like deserve it, like phenomenal talent. But there is some bands that just coast through either paying a lot for PR or, like you can pay to, like young kids and us when we were younger, like, oh, how do they get that big magazine coverage? Well, even the best bands won't get in that magazine if they don't pay or
Yeah.
£4,000 a month or whatever. But I remember hearing you guys young and thinking like, it was the kind of stuff I was playing at the time and thinking you were absolute class. So if you look at that first You, Me at Six album, that's not a tight fucking band. You know what I mean? Like,
It's just
no offense to them
it was
at
one
all,
song. It was Save It for the Bedroom. It was
yeah.
it was a hit, and they just blew up, man, like
Mm.
so much because that song was so good and catchy.
Yeah.
They built their fan base built from there, and they've just look at them now, man. It's just
Yeah.
they're still they're massive. But yeah, it was always a frustrating thing back in the day. We never had any money, man. Like I had my own flat when I was 18, paying rent, and you'd hear about these. We would be so skint, scraping money together for like we'd be like £2 short of practice, like like saying to the guy, we're a couple of quid short this week, we'll pay you back next week. And then you hear about these bands that are paying to get on tours or on magazines and stuff, and you're just like, fuck's sake, man, I wish we had that fucking money. But so yeah, it was amazing, but it was also shit that it never kind of got us where we wanted to at the same time. But yeah, music was and still is like one of the biggest things in my life for sure.
I think that's a really, like, the first version of lockdown. I had like not every, like when you say you've like written or demoed 30 songs plus folk go, what the fuck? But I'm talking like you maybe have a chorus and that's one, and you've maybe got a verse and a chorus, that's two. So I spent the first kind of lockdown, like the first kind of 2 months, right, fucking let's rewrite everything, and I'm going to do it again as we're kind of narrowing down for the next album and stuff, because it is such a therapeutic, and you've got a task, don't you? Even if just that day it's like, let's nail down the chorus to this song. You don't need to think, if you try and go, right, I'll write a whole song a day, sometimes it doesn't work out.
Yeah, man. I was never the main songwriter in my band. I was this vocalist, so I would come up with most of the melodies and stuff like that. But in terms of the actual music, it was mainly the guitarist that came up with most of the songs. So when I didn't have a band, I just didn't believe in myself that I could write a song. So I just play covers, and which I mostly still do. But but then I wrote when I lost my dad and I started a new band. Again, the other boy Andy Cannon, who you probably know well.
Yeah.
He was the main songwriter because he's an amazing songwriter. But I wrote this song one day. I was feeling shit about my dad. I sat down, I had words in my head, and I started batting out. And I wrote this, in my opinion, pretty good song, which I should have used as momentum to go forward when I lost the band, because I've always wanted to write more stuff, and I'm just like, nah, I sit down and I sound shite and then patch it, and then that'll be me for months. I'll even try again. And then over the last couple of weeks, I've just started coming out with like some really cool things, and like I'm taking a bit more time over it. I'm not just sacking it when it's not going my way. I'm persevering. I'm recording voice memos when I'm walking down the street when something comes into my head. I've never done that before. I always say I should do that, and I've never done it. And then you lose it, and you're like, fuck, what was that? And now all of a sudden I'm sitting here with like a song and an idea for another song, and I'm thinking they sound pretty good. I'm just like, you just didn't believe in yourself before. You just told yourself you're shite at songwriting, just do covers, and it held me back, obviously, for years. But I've picked it up again now, and hopefully I can keep at it, and just, as I say, even if it's just literally demos for myself to keep me busy and learn how to use GarageBand and learn how to do these things to fill my time at the moment. I know I'm not going to be touring the world with my music these days, but just to, and I know that I feel a bit pathetic sometimes because of the music I still listen to all the time, and the music I still write, because I'm kind of stuck in this whole, like, I still listen to like the Used first album on a weekly basis, still listening to Starting Line all the time. It just makes me so happy, and like
same, bro. Same.
But I'm still kind of writing pop punk kind of emo music, and I'm just like, people are going to think you're a fucking loser. But I know there's some people that still like that shit, so I'm like, if I write a song and there's a few people that think it's all right, then that's fine.
I actually think that shit's making a resurgence, man. Like, people try and follow like what's trendy, but if you just write what's in your heart, man. Like when we recorded our first album, back in 2015 or something. I wasn't trying to do it intentionally, but we were there was a guys in the band that liked the new kind of Arctic Monkeys, like dark, kind of rocky vibe. We like Biffy and Twin, and we were kind of trying to do that with our own style, and it just comes across as like you're trying to write for radio. It's not good.
Yeah.
EPs and singles and demos for the forthcoming album and stuff now, just straight from the heart, man. More like an emo rock kind of thing. I love pop punk, but I was more always into kind of like the Used kind of stuff and all that. It just, don't overthink it, because you always put a filter on it. You think, oh no, this is too cheesy, I'll try and make it sound like mature. But the mature stuff just sounds like blasé. The cheesy in your mind is actually passionate and raw, and it's fucking, people like it, man. That's what SoundCloud's there for. I did a 10 songs in 10-day challenge at the very start of lockdown. I was like, I don't care what they sound like, but
I listened to some of them, man, when you post on Facebook.
Cheers, man. I was like, I'll start at the start of the day and I'll finish at the end. And you know what? Like, it doesn't matter if it's good or not. I'm just re-exercising my writing muscle. You know, it's just like training. Like,
man,
right
now, therapeutic, man.
Yeah, I'm unfit, so I'm going out and doing like runs. I'm not timing myself right now. That was what that writing challenge was. It was just, let's just get back in the fucking habit, you know.
That's great, and that's what we need to do right now when things are hard, mate. We need to just do things that not necessarily for a greater purpose, just because we're passionate about it and because it makes us happy at the end of the day, man.
Exactly, man. Why should you try and overthink that, you know?
Totally, man, totally.
Going back to, because obviously I don't want to just like paper over what a massive achievement it was, your Ironman achievement. I know you said there, obviously, you know, you are an athlete, anyone that dedicates their life like you do, but obviously you said, you know, you scrape by, you cut this. A wee bit disingenuous, because you would know yourself, if you didn't have to work, if you had those sponsorships and you could have had a year of full-time training before that, you know instantly you're doing that around being like a normal job and stuff like that as well.
Yeah.
But like, Ironman, in terms of kind of mentally and physically, like, A, how long was the whole training process when you knew you were doing it? And B, what would you say were the hardest things, either mentally, physically, whatever?
The Ironman itself, the actual Ironman in 2019, that was a 6-month process, but it really was over years, because when I first got into training, it was more so just lifting weights, because that's what I found. I enjoyed that. It made me feel good. Played football. That was my kind of cardio. But I didn't do any cycling or swimming. And I was working the bank at the time, which, as I said, my dad worked for as well. He was gone by this point, obviously. But the woman I worked with goes, oh, the bank are wanting people to do the London Triathlon for charity. You go to the gym, why don't you do it? And I was like, well, I don't swim or cycle. That's not really what I'm into. And I just took the bit of paper, and it was the anniversary of my dad dying.
Really?
The event was, and the charity was the Alzheimer's Society, and my dad's dad had Alzheimer's. That's what he eventually died of. So I looked at that and I was like, well, I've got to can do it now. And I was
That's
like,
a sign, isn't it?
That is a sign. And I was like, I could raise money for Alzheimer's, which is obviously close to my heart through my grandfather having it, and so
another thing he'd be proud of as well, you know.
Well, at the time, that was it. I was like, this was like a year of me not drinking, so it wasn't that long, and I'm like, if I could do this, like after a year of where I was, like I'd lost 5 stone, I'd obviously not drank in a year. I was like, that'd be amazing, like, and it just show other people, because like that's the thing, when you come out of that dark place to a place where you're happy and like you're enjoying life, but you see other people in that dark place through alcohol or drugs or whatever it may be, the best thing that you can do, rather than saying to them, stop drinking, mate, the best thing you can do is do something crazy like that and go, look where I was and look what I just done. You don't need to do a triathlon, but what I'm saying is, if you want to feel better, you can, you know, and it's possible, because I'm a real person. Like I was worked in a bank at this point, you know. I'm like, I'm not a full-time athlete. I'm not a PT even at this point. I'm literally just a guy who has lost his dad and has used exercise as a form to get better. And I've turned my whole life around. So that was the main reason for me to do these things, because hi pal, because I was so desperate to show people that you can turn shit around, man. So yeah, I done that triathlon. It was a shit show. I hardly trained in I didn't even train on a real bike. I done a bike in the gym. I swam in a 15-meter pool. Had 3 weeks in Florida not long before it, because I'd saved up all my money that I used to drink with. I went to Florida for 3 weeks. So that was also amazing. So yeah, I done that triathlon. I finished it. I was so proud, but it wasn't great. I had the wrong wetsuit and everything, but I did finish it. And then I said, I'm going back next year. I'm going to do a better job. Went back the following year, and I beat my time by almost an hour.
Oh,
which was, I was even shocked at, because I was going down going, I really hope I beat my time for last year, because again, I'd raised a lot of money, people had backed me, and I was like, I really hope I do this, and I beat it by 52 minutes, and I finished the finish line that day. I'd already looked into Ironman at this point, because I was doing triathlon, and Ironman is a triathlon. It's just a really extreme version of an Olympic distance triathlon. So I finished the finish line that day in 2014, my second one. And I said to myself, when I finished the line, I was so happy. I was so proud of myself again, and the endorphins I had, something I'd never felt. It was like being high, like this, and an amazing feeling, man. And I said to myself, I'm going to do an Ironman one day. And I took a couple of years away from triathlon because I was wanting to bulk up a wee bit. I'd lost a lot of weight. I was doing triathlon. I was really skinny at this point. So I wanted to put on some muscle. So I stopped doing triathlon, done more strength training. And then 2017, I was like, this is it. I'm going to do it. I put it out on social media. Says I'm going to do an Ironman one day. I'm going to do it, try and do it in the next few years. And I'm going to sign up for my next triathlon this year to get me going. So I signed up for the Brighton triathlon. Done that, got another personal best, which I was really happy with, because I was like, can't remember how heavy, but I was a lot heavier at this point. So to run and swim makes it a lot harder when you're heavier. But I was stronger and fitter because it was a few years down the line. I was a PT by this point. So yeah, that was good. And then I'd done my first half Ironman in 2018, which was in Denmark. I went to Elsinore, just outside Copenhagen. Done my first half Ironman, which was on Father's Day. So again, that was another sign. I was like, this is crazy. I signed up and realised it was Father's Day. I was like, what the fuck? So I finished that on Father's Day. That was a 1.9 kilometre swim, a 90 kilometre bike ride, and then a half marathon. I'd done that 6 and a bit hours. And that was the final bit of prep before I booked my Ironman in Zurich, Switzerland, July 2019. And that was pretty close, again, to my dad's anniversary of him passing. So again, it's all connected. It was all, this whole journey was like for him, and show people that you can turn stuff around. So I started the Ironman training in January 2019, and it was in July, so I had 6 months. It was crazy, man. Like every single day, bar one rest day a week, but every single day I'm either swimming like fuck, running like fuck, or cycling like fuck. Plus I was also doing CrossFit and strength training, because I'm a big believer in not just ditching the strength stuff while you do the endurance stuff, because being strong is important. I didn't want to lose the muscle mass. So, and I'd moved to Gym G5 by this point, which is where I work now. And my work was just so much busier. So I was working loads of hours and training like an insane amount a week, man. It was tough. I loved it, because I'm addicted to that feeling, that rush and that buzz and that pushing yourself to the limits. It's what I live for, and where I'm kind of happiest. But it was tough because it was physically very demanding. It was mentally very demanding. It had effects on my life outside of Ironman and work, like my social life, my personal life. It had an impact on that kind of stuff. I hardly saw my family for that time because I just had no spare time, and when I did, I was knackered. But to train for the Ironman was just so important to me, and I was willing to do anything to get it done. And I'm a firm believer of, if you say you're going to do something, then do it. Mm-hmm. Don't keep saying you're going to do things and don't do them. because it's, you know, be true to yourself, inspire other people, and say, if you're saying you're going to do something, you truly want to do something, then give everything you have to doing it. So I was never going to not do it or put it in doubt. It was an incredible day. I went to Zurich with my best pal Johnny and Stella, who I'll work with in the gym. She came as well, and it was a mental day. It's a 3.8 kilometre swim, a 180 kilometre bike ride, and a full marathon in like 30-degree heat in the middle of summer in Zurich, which was not my best idea. But I said, if I'm going to do an Ironman, I'm going to do it somewhere epic and somewhere that's like visually amazing, and I get a wee holiday out of it. And it was crazy, man. Usually Ironman is 17-hour time cut off. This one was 16 hours because it was a flat run, and I done it in just over 15 hours.
Amazing, man.
So the cycle killed me, man. It was like,
I was waiting to say, is there any of those answers? Listening to that from an absolute novice, you would think, cycling will be easier and the swimming and running would be hard.
I kind of thought that as well before I got into it all properly, but
you got a seat.
Oh, mate, honestly, like the swim's easy. The swim's a doddle, man. It's
really?
Like it's an hour and a half, so it's by far the shortest discipline. I was doing it in Lake Zurich. It was beautiful water. It was a really good experience, and I'm a decent swimmer. Not a great swimmer, but a decent swimmer. And that was fine. Got out the water, onto the bike. It was flat at first, so not too bad. But then it got to like midday. The sun was bursting. I was then out in the countryside, up crazy hills, and it just was so difficult, man. It took me over 7 hours to do 112 miles. So 112 miles, 7 hours of cycling up hills. You come off the bike and your legs are just an absolute mess, and then you need to run a full marathon.
Fucking hell, man! See when someone explains it like this, it's so like. See when you see when you said the numbers, you're like, aye, that's crazy. But then when you're saying, so an hour and a half swim, 7 hour cycle, you're like, hold on, that's fucking tea time now. Like what?
Yeah, I started at 6 in the morning.
Then you're on a marathon.
At 9 at night. Yeah, like I'd started at 6 in the morning before people were out of beds, and people have went and done a full day's work, came home, had their dinner, watched EastEnders, and fucking went to bed. I'm still doing it. Do you know what I mean?
Oh, man, a marathon would, most people, would exert them so much. I mean, I've climbed, like, I did Ben Nevis, and at the end of the night, you're fucking shattered, quite rightly. You just fucking walked a mountain, but...
Well, that's where mental strength comes into play, man. It's physical fitness is only a part of something like Ironman. You need to build up mental strength, and that's why I've done it over a space of years and built it up rather than just going, I'm going to do an Ironman, because your legs are killing you, man. Everything hurts, and you just want to stop. But
I was waiting to say, is there a moment, and I know obviously I don't mean the moment when you seriously thought it, because you're telling me that the kind of person you are and you told yourself you would do it, but was there testing moments, or did you know?
Oh, mate, so bad. I was in such dark places at some of the points of the cycle and the run. My hamstring seized up to a point I had to go off the bike and actually stretch it and stuff, because I just couldn't cycle anymore. Stretched it a bit, get back on. It was still agony, but you just have to keep pedaling, man. You have to think of why you're doing it. You have to think of the money and time and effort you've put into it. It's thousands of pounds, mate. Like all the equipment, the bike, all the gear you need, the food you need to eat. I was having to eat like 4,000 to 5,000 calories a lot of days, and that's a lot of money to buy that amount of food, man. People have donated. I raised like $2,000 in charity for British Heart Foundation, because that's when my dad died of the heart. People have travelled with me, spent money. I know that there's people watching a live tracker back home. It's like those things in your head are just like, you cannot give up.
Also, you're the expert on this. The only thing I cannot relate, not for a second try to relate to that, but even if just normal stuff that you're like, this is hard graft, it's shite, maybe it's halfway through, you're like, but you've got halfway through it now. If you were to try, even just that thing, man. Like, why would I end it now? Like, I'm on the home straight, even though it's going to be even more brutal,
Exactly, man. And this is the thing, I always encourage people to do things that they are scared of or put them out their comfort zone, or if they think I can't do that, I would always say do it, because it makes you a stronger person in life. Because the worst shit that happens to you makes you stronger and makes you better prepared for other things happening in life. Like my dad dying at that point in my life when I was just off the drink, blah blah blah. I'm on that bike, I'm killing me, but I'm like, that's nothing compared to what I went through back then.
Yeah.
Like I'm cycling a bike in a beautiful country. Like, yeah, it hurts, but you can keep going. Like,
yeah,
you're only done. You're not done when your head's telling you you're done. Never ever. You can physically keep going when your head's telling you to stop. So yeah, like, and doing that Ironman, 15 odd hours of like hard work and a lot of pain and a lot of dark moments, like, helps me for any other workout that I'm doing in the gym, because it's like a fraction of the effort. And don't get me wrong, I still fucking die in the gym sometimes. CrossFit is fucking hard, but sometimes I think about it and I'm like, you've done a lot worse than this. Just keep going. Don't stop. Pick up the dumbbell again. Pick up the barbell again. Or if I'm out to run 5k, sometimes a 5k feels hard, man. And I'm like, out to run, I'm 3k in, and I'm just like, it's 5k. Just keep going. You've done a marathon after a 7-hour cycle. So the hard things you do are always going to be worth it, because they make you a mentally stronger person going forward in life. And that's where training is so amazing, because it makes people believe in themselves. It makes people realize that they are capable of stuff. Because like I've got clients that come in and they're now maybe deadlifting over 100 kilos. They're maybe running 10Ks, half marathons. And before they came and trained with me in the gym, they'd never done it. They'd never even done a 5K. Now they're doing a half marathon. They now realize what their bodies are capable of. They realize what they're mentally capable of. If they'd never went to the gym, they would never have realized that. So like, when I started training, I was in a job I really fucking hated. And that's, again, partly why I drank so much, because of stress in my job at the time. So when I stopped drinking, found the gym and started finding that I was capable of anything, I was just applying for jobs right away. And then I got a new job, and it was better. And all I had to do was apply for a job. But before I hit the gym, didn't believe in myself, and I was in a cycle of boozing. I never had the effort or the belief to think I'm good enough for that job. Do you know what I mean?
Just to get up and move and make a change.
Just literally to tell yourself you're good enough for that position that they're saying is available. Apply. Mm-hmm. And literally the first one I applied for, I got the job, and it was more money and it was a better job. But I'd spent 6 years in this job doing the same thing every day that I hated, because I never thought I could get another job, because I was just because it's my weak mindset, basically.
It's mad,
so training is a catalyst for so many things, man.
That's amazing, man. Your story's absolute class, mate. And I don't say this like flippantly, like, whether it's an audio book or something. I hope if you continue in that, like, one day you might put something together, because I think it's a story worth telling for sure, man. And obviously super young guy still, so plenty still to fill up, And
that's half the problem for me, man. I think to myself, I've thought about doing maybe like write a book or an audio book or a seminar even, or something like that. Mm-hmm. But then I think, even now I still kind of put myself down sometimes. I think nobody really cares, or because I was drinking so heavily when I was quite young, a lot of people just think, you were young, mate, like, it's fine, like, everybody drinks like that when you're young. I'm like, no, it was fucking killing me, and it was ruining everything in my life, and it literally did ruin my life and sent me to like some horrific fucking places. But I just feel like, because it all happened at a young age and I got out at a young age, it's like, people just ain't gonna fucking care, or like think it's that big a deal type thing.
I think like you said about the people, if you met, you would hope that they wouldn't, hold those ill feelings. And I said, well, if they do, it's just not for them. I actually was going to allude to this at the start, just a really quick sub point, but I think it's relevant for what you're saying there. I think the stereotypical, and I don't mean like fitness or physique wise, and that obviously you've got yourself in class shape, but like you're in a bear tooth hoodie, you got some long hair, you got some tattoos, you like pop punk. It's not like some people are intimidated by this, like, hey, I'm a personal trainer, and like, fucking only talking about Yeezys and cars and shit like that. totally puts you off, but it doesn't put some people off. There's a market for
No, of
everything.
course, of course.
I know a lot of people kind of through the scene, and just looking at your clients, you know, tattooed people, like, you know, as alternative people, that's kind of our tribe. We know those people. Now, I know you would train anybody. I'm not.
Oh, of course, but I also know what you're saying.
Aye, for not in anyone listening to this, am I typecasting you? But what I'm saying is, people feel comfortable with that because it's not the norm, and I think they're the people our age, people who in our culture in Scotland do drink to blackout drunk when they're teenagers because we don't really address feelings, and that's probably the big knock-on effect of all the mental health issues.
Of course, man.
I think there's a big gap there for the story you're telling, man, and I do appreciate you telling it all today as well, man.
You know, that's the thing, like, people always will say, like, are you okay talking about it, blah, blah. I'm like, I am, because of the power that it has to help other people, and, like, you know, I'm a strong person, and it happened a long time ago, and I'm proud of what I've came through, and I enjoy talking about my dad, like, because I obviously would always talk about my dad.
Why wouldn't you, man?
Yeah, exactly. So I'm always fine for talking about it, and, like, yeah, like, as you said, like, there'll be some people that I train that have got amazing results, and they have changed so many things about their life, that if they never saw that kind of alternative emo PT, basically, that they saw on their social media, plays guitar and, like, listens to their type of music and goes to gigs, and they might never have found a PT to help them.
Exactly, man.
And as you say, I will help anyone, and I've trained people that I've never heard of the bands I listen to and don't have any tattoos, and obviously I've became very close to those people and their journeys as well.
Of course, yeah.
But, you know, I think that there'll be some people who have came to me purely because they feel that they can relate to me and I can relate to them. And that's great, because that's what I want. I want to help people, and I want to help people that need help and feel that they can't go to maybe someone because they're too... I don't know. I don't want to say anything.
No, man. You're you, and you know, like I said, there's people that will cater to everybody, and, you know, we don't typecast anyone, but people are going to feel comfortable if they feel that you can relate to their kind of vibe. You know what I mean? Like,
no, definitely, man. And that's the thing. Like, it's great because the gym I work in as well. Like, I can play whatever music. They don't have to listen to the generic music that's in the gym. Like, I can play Beartooth when we're training my client, or I can play Metallica, or I can play State Champs. Like, it's whatever they're into, I'll put on, and that's a massive part of their session because they're getting to train. Because to me, music and training together is probably what makes me the happiest thing and the happiest person in the world. Because, like, training with that music in your ears that you love and that you're passionate about, and it makes you feel things, and you're getting endorphins from training. It's like being on fucking drugs. Like, I'll be out running sometimes, listening to the starting line, and I'll just be, like, so in the moment and happy, and, like, I'll be playing air drums and, like, singing, and people in the park will probably look at me and go, what the fuck is he doing? But that's what it makes me feel like, man. That's what it makes me feel like, and it makes me healthier and makes me feel good after it. Whereas when I used to get wrecked and put the music on and drink and, like, this is the best thing ever, fucking getting pissed listening to the favourite band, but then I would feel fucking shite after it, you know?
Yeah, man. And essentially, again, I'm not going to be a hypocrite. I'm kind of discovering my own way to manage it, but I still drink. But essentially what you're doing, I think I drink for opposite reasons. It's because I've got a very, like, full-on mind. I'm always trying to do loads of projects in my head and this and stuff, and I sometimes, when I'm sitting alone, I'm like, I need to chill my brain out. Don't get me wrong, I know that if I get myself more exercise and more stuff like that, that's a way. So that's things I'm kind of getting back into. But effectively, alcohol is only ever dulling your senses. Nobody could say that it heightens it. So you're talking about things I relate to there, music and all that. Like, yeah, you enjoy it when you're drinking and that, but you're dulling senses. You're not enhancing anything, are you?
And what I also want to say as well is that, you know, I don't judge anyone for drinking alcohol. Like, I have clients that still enjoy beers and wine and stuff at the weekend, and that's totally fine because it can 100% have a place in a bar's lifestyle.
That's
and
it.
I know, like, some of my close friends can go to the pub, like, with me, who doesn't drink, have a couple of beers, have a chat, go home and have a nice night. I could never do that, and that's my problem, and that's why I am the way I am. But they can, and that is totally fine. And I'll go out with my mates that drink. And that is, I know, it's the same with food. Like some people can have some chocolate or whatever it is that we know is not great for us, but it tastes good and we like to eat it. And some people can have that stuff and get on with their life without having a second thought. But some people have something like that and they will eat until they feel sick.
Yeah.
And that will continue for days and they will feel fucking terrible about what they've done and they'll beat themselves up and it's like, and that's where everybody's so different, and that's why Instagram can really fuck me off sometimes, because it's like there's just all these things like stop doing this or start doing that, or you should be doing this, or this is how you should eat, this is how you should drink. It's like, no, every single person is so individual that you can't just put that shit out there and expect everyone's to live by that and be okay, because like you can't just say to me, I'll just have a fucking beer, mate, because I can't. And that's the same with some people with food. They can't just eat shit whenever they want because they've got issues there, and it will lead to bigger problems. And sometimes it's a case of if they're going through a journey of weight loss or whatever, they need to take that stuff out of the diet for a while until, because I was the same, mate. Like I lost a lot of weight, but I had a shit relationship with food. When I lost 5 stone, I got really skinny and I was scared of chocolate and stuff. I was scared of takeaways. And when I had something, I would have 10 of them. And I would then make myself feel fucking terrible about it. And I'd need to go to the gym. And that's not a way to live your life, man. Food is there to be enjoyed. Training is there to make you feel better. It shouldn't be fucking punishment for eating. But that's the way I got myself into. And it took me time of learning about what I could do and couldn't do without kind of binge triggers and stuff like that. And now I'm in a place where if I want a chocolate bar and have one, it's fine. It doesn't affect me. But back then it did. And if I was just to do that whenever, I would just end up in a terrible cycle of overeating and undereating.
Yeah.
So nutrition is such a complex thing. It's the same with alcohol again. It's just everybody's so different, man. And it's just, we've just got to find how we can live with it, or if we need to live without it, man.
Just like you said, man, the word is balance in it. So for you on the scales, like the food and stuff is just a wee weight because you're proactive about working out, so you don't need to be reactive to like punish yourself. But for you, that beer is a big weight, so that's not a good balance. For other people, the wine and that's maybe small, but like for whatever. But 100%, we're all individual, man.
And that's another word that I hate. Sorry to interrupt you.
Go.
Just quickly, I know went way over time, but like,
no problem, man.
I think balance, or telling people about balance, is also a weird thing, because like people will say to me, you need more balance in your life, man, because you work and train all the fucking time. And I'm like, yeah, but that's what makes me happy. If I don't do that, I ain't happy, or my mood can dip, or I can get myself into a bad way. So it's like, how I live my life isn't how you should live your life.
Exactly, man.
But my balance is different to your balance, and we all need balance, but it's different to everyone, because not everyone can just have the same fucking balance. Do you know what I mean?
100%, man. Like in individuality, man. There's no two people the same.
Exactly,
even a twin. We've all got our own like physiological needs and stuff, man.
For sure, man.
I'd just like to wrap up, if you don't mind. And I know this is not an easy question to answer, but like if somebody, I've been there before. I certainly don't think I'm there now. I kind of know how to rectify my things. I'm just being lazy because of lockdown, but I do have friends in the past who I've encouraged to, like, they've told me they want to maybe lose the weight, or they've told me they've maybe got a problem with either, alcohol or any sort of kind of substance abuse. And that feeling when you'll be able to relate, and I've been there in the past, the hill just looks too steep. And it's not about not wanting to change. You do want to change, but you just go, fuck, like, it's too much. What's your kind of advice to someone to, like, start their journey?
The biggest thing that they can do is get help, professional help. When I stopped drinking, I got counselling because it was too hard to do it on my own, or I thought it was going to be too hard to do it on my own. So I got one-to-one counselling to help me with that. And this was after my dad died. This wasn't when I first stopped drinking. It was 2 months later. I lost my dad. If I tried to go that alone, I'd like to think I would have still stayed off it, but having that person to talk to who was a professional in alcohol addiction massively helped me. And then when I went to the gym, I lost some weight quite quickly because I'd stopped drinking and I changed my diet just by cutting out junk. But then I didn't know where to go from there, and I got a PT, and that was great for me to learn how to lift properly, to learn how to train properly. And again, if I didn't get that help, I probably wouldn't have ended up training to the extent I did, and wanting to become a PT myself. Nutrition is such a complex thing sometimes, in terms of, as I said, everyone's so different in what they need. So again, if you have a coach who is qualified in nutrition and knows and has a track record of helping people lose weight, or whatever the goal is, if it's get stronger, get fitter, if you have a coach who has a track record in helping people, you can't go wrong, man. Like, because a coach gives you, and this is not me trying to like get in business. Like,
I've asked you the question, man. Don't worry about that.
I'm like fucking, I've got enough clients, but it's just the truth. Like, you cannot beat that benefit of having the coach. To the biggest thing is accountability, man. Like, take the knowledge of how to eat or train out it. Having someone to say, I went to the gym today, or I went out that run today, or I've done my steps today, is massive. And that goes for everything. Like, I still have that. I still get my programming off of someone, so I have something to follow, and not just doing it myself, because I just make it easy for myself, or I'd not put the things that I don't enjoy. So I still have accountability for someone to say, I've done my week's training. So to have that person there to keep you accountable towards your goals is the biggest thing anyone can do. Because even at that, people might still fail because they're not ready to change their habits, they're not ready to change their social lives. But if you are ready and willing to change things that you need to change to lose weight, to get fitter, if you have the right person guiding you through it, and the right person to talk to when you're struggling, or just to be accountable to, then the chances of you succeeding are so much fucking higher. Like, the amount of clients that I have helped that have told me they have tried for years and just haven't been able to do it because A, they don't have the knowledge, and B, they would just the first chance of temptation, they would just go for the takeaway or the night out, rather than thinking, got my personal training session on Monday, he's going to ask me how my weekend went, I better not do that. It just makes it's a massive difference. So it would be to get professional help for whatever the goal is. Get someone who knows what they're doing and to hold you accountable.
Brilliant, man.
And one last thing, just make sure that you do what you enjoy. So, like, if people don't like training in a gym, then I wouldn't recommend them to come to me, because I will train them in a gym, lifting weights and doing kind of cardio things. If they don't like that, then again, are they going to succeed? Probably not. They could grow to love it, but if they really enjoy just running or playing tennis or cycling, then maybe get a coach to help with your diet. But the exercise, you have to do what makes you happy. Or again, if someone's just dreads every session, there's going to come a point that just chuck it. Whereas if you, like, I went into that gym, started lifting weights, and instantly loved it. And that's why I've kept training all these years later, because it just makes me happy and I enjoy getting better at it. So you need to do what you enjoy. Or if you've went to someone for dietary help and they're telling you to eat a certain way that you don't actually like I don't like these foods, but he's telling me to eat them, then that's not going to work either. You need to make sure it caters to your needs and you're eating foods that you do enjoy, so that you can stick to it longer term. Because always look longer term results than shorter term results for quick fixes that are never going to be sustainable, because you'll just be yo-yoing fucking forever, and that's not how you want to be. Like, you want to go, okay, I might not lose a stone in a week, but if I lose a stone over the next 6 months and then another stone, that's 2 stone this year, rather than putting on a stone.
Yeah, and keeping it off rather than like losing it for the big holiday and then putting it right back on.
Always think long term and think sustainability, man.
Brilliant, man. And that just sums up kind of individuality as well, which we talked about. So absolutely brilliant, man. Where can people either find you, or what's the name of your podcast or your accounts?
Everything's runs through my Facebook and Instagram. So my Instagram would be the best one. So it'd be coach2_DC. DC is Douglas Craig. That was my dad's name. So it's why is my name's Scott? Everybody's like, why DC? It's because it's my dad's name. So
Brilliant, man.
coach __ DC, and that will have like links to a podcast or anything else on it. Facebook page DC Fitness, and that's about it, man.
Brilliant, man. Well, thanks so much for your time, Scott. Man, this is the first time we've had a proper conversation.
Yeah, man. No, thank you.
Feels like I've known you years, man.
No, thanks so much, man. Thanks. It's been good to talk, man.
Yeah, you too, brother. And I appreciate you sharing everything you did. And I'm sure we'll speak soon.
Cool, man. Thank you.
Take care, man. See you later, man.
Bye, buddy.
Yeah, we're talking about